levels of, listing sales you do? Just give us everyone a bit of an overview of who you're all about.
Yeah, so we've been in the business now 6 years here at Harcourts Group. So came from a different town. So went to university here, came out of university, knew 3 people who own houses about 6 years ago when I was 24. So it was my brother, my sister, and my rugby coach. Rung them all twice, didn't get a listing. I thought it was going to be a little bit harder than what I thought initially. So we started cold. So it was a lot of cold business, and now we've used sort of digital name to obviously help, I guess, layer that. But really enjoying it, and into the 7th year now. We're growing maybe 30 or 40% each year, but on track to do 100 deals this year. But it's just, and we keep learning and adapting and growing, and I guess social name is a big part of that. But yeah, we started cold, and we're getting a lot of our business from other business.
Okay. A lot of the people that watch our webinars are in fact people that are maybe only doing 20 deals a year, right? Well, they are people that are sort of just, they're coming up the path of real estate. Some of them are beginners, and some of them have been around for a while, but they just can't get their business to the next level. You use the word cold. When you are working in a market that's cold, Jonny, tell me some of the stuff that you did to get you in the game in real estate. What's your method of actual, prospecting, for instance?
Yeah, so from when we started and it was cold, it was just basically I was going around all the agents. I was getting old open home registers. I was door knocking, expired listings. We were going through Trade Me, etc. But I basically had 36,000 numbers, and I was calling through there. So it was really cold, hard business. We'd call a street, for example, and say, hey, we've just listed 23 Smith Street, just sold 24 Smith Street. Do you know anyone that's looking at buying and selling? It was that cold. But I mean, I got 2 calls last week that people I called 5 years ago. So I think where we've learned and adapted and done well is we just built relationships over that 1, 2, 3, 4 year period without much expectation return. And so that's probably where we're really good, is we were disciplined over a number of years. And now we're starting to be rewarded for that. And all my business is warm and hot.
May I ask, how long did it take of cold calling to give you some sort of, results?
It probably took about a year to really start seeing that it was working. And then it was probably years 3 and 4 when our business really started to go to another level. So those first 2 years when you're 24 and you know no one that owns real estate, I don't think it matters whether you're 25 or 65, you can always grow your business. But I think we learned to adapt and build relationships, knowing we'd be rewarded down the track. But it was definitely a year or 2 until we started doing some reasonable sort of numbers.
Well, they say if you're good enough, you're old enough. And as far as I'm concerned, that, age is a self-limiting belief. By the way, Frank, it's not age, it's not just young. I have a lot of people that say to me, Tom, I was a school teacher, I've left teaching, I'm 58 years of age, am I too old? I think fundamentally what people care about is a good human being to show up to serve them. Real estate is not a highly sophisticated skill. It's find a house, find a buyer, match them up. Trust is the commodity that we have in real estate, right? And it doesn't matter if you're 21 or if you're 61, you can be a trustworthy person. I want to ask you, Jonny, you've been very good in explaining some of the lead sources, but old files from the office, is that like orphan data? People that didn't have an agent that had dealt with the office in the past, is that what you were calling?
Yeah, it was orphan data, definitely. So we had probably an older lot of agents in the office when I started, and more and more younger ones are coming through now, which is exciting, but a lot of people that weren't getting called. So old open home registers, expired listings and bits and pieces. So I literally went, introduced myself to the 60-odd agents. We've got a big company here, and got those and just took a very small fee, if anything, and just built as many relationships as possible. So I was just adding data, and then try to put a process in place that had touch points along the way. So I'd call those people every 8 weeks, 3 months, sales in the area, just trying to add value everywhere I could.
What do you say to people that you call cold? What's the conversation sound like? I mean, I'm sure there's different things to different people, but give me a bit of an overview of the sort of things you'd say.
I have to try and remember what I said, but I've said it enough times, so I'm sure I can recite it. But it went something like, Hi Tom, Jonny Nicholls here from Harcourts Group. I'm so sorry to call you out of the blue. The point of my call is we've just sold 36 Smith Street and just listed 36 Smith Street. I just want to know, are you your friends, your family, your colleagues, or anyone you know in the marketplace looking at transacting over the coming years? And I'll just shut my mouth.
Beautiful. So, to everyone that's watching, Frank, he's demonstrated what I call the law of because, and that is you never call anyone without a strong because. The words he used was the point of my call, which is like the purpose or the because of the call.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people struggle in real estate. In fact, I just got off a coaching session with a couple of clients, and they said, we hate prospecting because we wouldn't like it happening to us. And I said, why wouldn't you like it happening to you? And they said, oh, well, when someone just calls and says, hey, I'm just calling, I'm a real estate agent, I'm just calling to check in, touch base. I said, well, that's part of the problem. If your calls don't have value attached to them, you've got to show value, you've got to do value, you've got to give more value. You've got to move away from a commodity and be a value-added provider. Show more, do more, give more. And I think you were doing that. You were saying, hey, we've listed this, we've sold this. So good listing. And then you also said about expired listings. I'm just curious, how would you approach an expired listing, Jonny?
So what I was doing is I never shatter my nest, by the way. So this is outside of Harcourts. Might be Ray White, Bailey's, Mike Pero, etc. But at that point in time, the market wasn't that hot. So a lot of stuff would expire, right? Unlike probably markets in Aussie at the moment too. So I'd get to 8 weeks. There's a 90-day term. I'd get 8 weeks in, which is 60 days. I'd send them a letter just that I'm going to be in touch and that you perhaps haven't got it under contract or I see it hasn't sold. Basically wondering why it hasn't sold, and then I was going to door knock them in 2 weeks' time. So a couple of weeks before that ended, I'd go and door knock them and try and build a relationship. But that's all I was doing on that front.
What do you think
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. What do you think when you were giving the letters, are you just putting in the letter box or are you slipping it under the door? Like how many people, when you spoke to them, had actually seen the letter? Were there many people that were expecting it?
Yeah, most had seen the letter because I gave them 2 weeks before I door knocked them. So I'd seen the letter, I pre-ed it and door knocked them. So I again, like my call, I said, I'm so sorry to call you out of the blue. That was my door knock version of trying to bring down the facade. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't know if it built trust as such, but I think it certainly helped fast track the relationship.
Yes, that makes sense. Can I ask, so because I'm quite curious, is obviously you started at 24, 6 years in, you're doing great numbers for for the amount of time you're in the business for. Can I ask, where did you learn it from? So you've come into an office that you said is quite large. Was there really good training that happened within that office, or how did you get to where you are today during that journey?
I think when I started, I called around the top 10 agents in South Island, top 10 in Auckland, top 20 Aussie, and whether it was text or email or phone, I thought, why create my own blueprint to success when I can rip and duplicate someone else's? I thought, no secrets, and we've heard it all before, but I thought there's no secrets in this business. So I rang around everyone, and there was a real common denominator, and that was connect with more people, build more relationships, do it over a sustained period of time, and there's no way you can't win, and you can learn the skills along the way. So I guess that work ethic and getting in the trenches for the first few years is perhaps what allowed us to get to another level. And we're nowhere near where we want to be, but we're tracking in the right direction. That's awesome. Love that. And you mentioned you have a team set up now. Like at what year did you decide to start implementing your team? I guess we should probably tell everybody, what does your team structure look like at the moment? Yeah, so I've got 2 PAs. So one's my sister. She's been with me since 2 years into the business. Awesome. We've just hired a second PA. And then I've got 1 co-agent with me. Yes. So he's helping manage pieces. So I'm not one of these agents or teams that's got 8 agents like some of the Kiwis do. It's pretty small team and pretty structured. And obviously we're moving up and doing more and more business. So I was just getting those structures in place. But my recommendation would be, as soon as you're getting caught in the office a bit much and you're in the position to do, get a PA on. And I think my business doubled as soon as I got a PA on. And I know it's such a hard commitment to make. Yeah. I always heard it. And I was like, right, maybe it's time. It was one webinar or seminar I did. I thought maybe it's time to get a PA. And now I can see why they've always recommended that. What do you think the shift is? Because it's interesting. I have a few good friends in the real estate, and the same thing. They're asking me, confiding me on the weekend, like, should I do it? Should I do it? Running the numbers and going, I don't know. And then 2 months later, like, oh, that was the best decision I did. What do you think the shift is when you put a PA on or someone to help you with the admin? Yeah, I some people put PAs on and they stay backwards, or stay the same and go backwards. Mm-hmm. And I think a big part of that is actually learning to let go. Yeah, because I reckon 3 or 4 months in, knew the skill set, but I was still looking over the shoulder. So I think someone you obviously like, you trust, and that can do the job is so critical. But learning to let go, because there's no point getting a PA on and then sitting there while they're doing advertising and not being on the phone or in front of someone. So I think the shift was learning to let go and ensuring now I measure each day upon how many outbound calls and how many meetings I'm doing. So it's being face to face or on the phone.
Yes. Yeah. That makes.
I really, I rarely listen. I rarely do this, but I think I've actually got it opened up now, Frank. So what I might do, and this is putting people on the spot, I just want to actually show. Wow, it's just that it was up on my screen. Essentially, what we're trying to do is, to everyone that's watching this webinar right now, I've just pulled something out of the real estate gym here. An effective business unit should look something along the lines of this, where you've got a clearly defined swim role for an agent. And if you actually have a look at that here, this is what Jonny Nicholls should be doing. He should be managing his pipeline, having expectation meeting, vendor meetings, negotiating, selling, doing open for inspections, buy management, callbacks, networking, prospecting. And then with your PAs, red denotes being an admin-based PA. They're going off and they're doing the stuff that is what I call $10 or $20 hour duties. And I want to remind everyone, the pilot does not serve drinks on the plane, if you think about that. They specialize in their main part of the job. Then down here, you've got a blue PA, which I consider a lead generator or buyer manager. And I can pretty much tell you, Jonny, if your team roughly would look something like that, where you've got yourself, lead agent, someone doing admin. I think the secret, Jonny, is that people do it sooner rather than later, because if you do it later and the work is clogged up, you become overwhelmed, you get the shits, you hate the work, you're stressed because you don't know what to do. So I reckon you're better off starting sooner rather than later. Jonny, what do you reckon? How many sales a month should you be doing before you reckon you put on that first assistant?
I'm whether it's a volume thing or a sale thing, I'm not sure. But if you're doing the right tasks and you're getting caught back in the office, I think it's time. I didn't have the money to do it either. I arranged with our directors. They could see I was working. They could see I was here early. I was here late. And I said, what about you guys invest in me? And they did. So they helped me on that. And they basically took that off my commissions. And it just allowed us to move further and further and further. So have those discussions with your owners if you don't know either. I think it's important. But I think, but to answer your question, it would have been 1 or 2 deals a month I put someone on.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And any tips on managing a team to those that are watching here, like the do's and don'ts from what you've learned?
I think I'm still learning every day, but and it's fine tuning it, isn't it? But my first PA was my sister, and that sounds odd, but we've got a very good relationship, so we can tell each other how it is.
Yeah,
Firstly, it was always going to go 1 or 2 ways, wasn't it? It's just been here 3 years, so we're doing something right. But I'd say find someone you like and you trust. You've got to have someone that you really trust in your business. And that goes for both of your PAs, that you can leave them there and you know they're doing the job. And I know that's easier said than done. I wanted to get someone that was in the business already, that knew a few different things about the business. And we've got KPIs and a few different bits and pieces. They have to meet. We're catching up every morning for 15 minutes because they know I want to get all those questions and stuff out of the way. But that'd be a couple of main things: is find someone you like and you trust in your business, because it's very easy to go backwards with getting the wrong clientele, the wrong people. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just touch on, like real estate, Frank? If I had to simplify it, look, I like every bit of real estate. When I'm teaching, I just want to simplify it. For instance, database, I say in your database, you've got have mets, have not mets, right? And you want to move your have not mets to become have mets. In prospecting, I say there's 2 types. You either chase or you attract, right? So you either reach out or you actually put an ethical bribe and get them to come to you, right? So I want to talk about, the social media piece, right? It's a piece that I love. It's very misunderstood because I see a lot of people having a crack at social media and between showing their Rolex watch or showing them being successful or trying to do a market wrap, you see that they just sort of do lots of different things and pieces. You know, with social media, what are your biggest learnings on social media? I mean, I know that you use a structured product. Is that part of your marketing presentation? Do you go in pitch for VPA and say, we're doing this social?
Yeah, and when Tina said, what does AIM do for you? How does it get you more listings? And I thought about that because it's nothing direct, but it's exactly that. I use it in my listing presentation. So, and I always say to like potential clients, a lot of agents, probably 90% of agents are still reactive rather than proactive. They're going in there, they're putting up the signboard, the photos, going on 2 real estate portals, and there's this acceptance that 3,000 people across those watches is still good. Whereas there's an opportunity now to reach 100,000 plus buyers during the course of that campaign. So I say that to my owners, and then I say, look, this is how we're going to do it. AIM obviously is massive, and social.
Okay. Now, how much do you get out of when you're pitching for VPA social media, how much do you ask for?
We're getting about $500 at the moment, which is largely around Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Can you just, mate, pretend I'm a vendor. I'm at a listing presentation. I'm listing with you, Jonny. You've really impressed me. I want to go with you. I want to go with Harcourts Grenadier. All of that. Now, I want to ask you, how do you actually ask me for $500? I'd love you to give me the script, the dialogue, the approach.
Do you know what? Generally, lately, especially lately, I'm in that door because of the layer of social media anyway. So that's where I'm getting the listing. They already see me on social. They see it's popping up. They're getting targeted by Google AdWords, etc. They know it works. So more often than not, I've already seen how important it is. So basically, it's half the job's already done. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. I get that. I understand. It's like if I walk into the Hilton Hotel and I ask for a bottle of sparkling water, I know that I'm not going to be paying $1. I'll be paying $10. I'm already pre-sold. I know that's the deal. And what you're sort of saying is they're already expecting that that's part of the deal.
Familiarity breeds trust, right?
Absolutely.
You know, so they've already seen that time and time and time again. So you're right, it becomes this expectation, and that's where it's had the most powerful effect on our business. Is that we're talking to the right people, and we're talking to them because they've seen our name, they've seen our signboards, they've seen us on social, they've seen the retargeting, and so there's this, I guess, perception that, and they already believe in it. So it's half. I mean, it's half the pitch done, is it not?
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you? And roughly, what's your VPA campaign? What do you normally get?
My average house price is 800,000, and we're about 4,000 approximately. So 1% of the value of the home, something like that.
Where's the $4,000 go?
So about 500 goes to social, and then it's a mixture between digital and print. Still a big believer in print as well. I think you need to be everywhere.
Right. So 3-week campaign in print?
Generally either 1 or 2, depending. Generally not the 3rd week, because that's the Wednesday before the Thursday option. So it's a little bit late in the piece. So we try and make it the first 10 days, really hammering it hard. And like I always ask where our buyers come from, like we're still getting 10 to 20% of our buyers from print media. Over a 40-person campaign, that's 8 buyers. Do you want to be talking to those 8 buyers in the marketplace when it comes to selling your largest asset? Something along the lines of that.
How do you sell print in a non-print world that we're in?
Yeah. It's a good question. Are you still a big fan of print?
I am. The only issue is the organisation that I'm aligned to, News Corporation, closed 100 of its. So yeah. I don't have 100 to actually spruik as much anymore, right? I'm still listen, Jonny. I mean, I'm not stupid. My next door neighbour is a multi-millionaire that's buying a house at the moment. And I can tell you, he's not on TikTok and he's not on Snapchat, right? So let's be clear. I know what this guy does. I see him in the cafe flipping through traditional media.
Yeah, absolutely. So and how I sell it, everyone's different, but I'm meeting 1 in 4 buyers from Auckland every Sunday. So we're meeting 100 buyers a weekend and 25 of them from Auckland. Now, if they're searching up line, it's all search engine specific. So we might have a listing in Cashmere, but they've been searching Hillsborough, Opawa, and Sumner because they don't know Cashmere's a prominent area. They come down here, they pick up the blue book, they pick up the press, and they go, look, perfect product. And he goes, yeah, but wrong location. Let's just go and have a look. All of a sudden they're there, they're bidding, they're there to win. But I think sometimes and often people are willing to compromise on location to get the right product. And I think if they're really active buyers, they're picking up those print mediums and they're there. So that's in a nutshell how I sell it.
Okay. I want to ask, to me, this is what I've heard you saying that, 25 minutes we've been together, that it doesn't matter what age you are, and it doesn't matter whether you've come out of another industry with no experience. If you're prepared to put at least a 1 year thorough traditional cold calling approach to real estate, that gets you in the game. And what you need to do is focus on a combination of expired listings, any pieces of information that you can get, build relationships with senior salespeople in your office, try and get access to data from people that have sold or listed property there that are no longer there with the office. And that's your start. Start talking to those people. Get a bit of runs on the board and you sort of start moving forward. You get off the runway and you're up in the air. Then you get layered with a bit of media, social and traditional. For you, it's AIM and print. And then all of a sudden, you start having awareness, which I call, you start having eminence in the market. And there's a great term, Jonny, recency trumps loyalty. And that's why you've got a guy that's been in real estate for 5 or 6 years that all of a sudden has become relevant because you're in the heat. You're the man that's carrying the listings and sales. So I'm getting that, plus accept that you're going to have to invest in a bit of money, take some of the money that you're earning, future earnings, if you've got an employer that will support you, and throw in a few team members, because the bigger the dream, the bigger the team. So you've got a big dream, you want to have big numbers. Am I reading that's what it's been like so far, or is there more to it?
No, 100%. It's that simple. And like I've watched a lot of your stuff, a lot of other trainers' stuff, and again, it was just a common theme. And what you've just said is basically what everyone else said in a nutshell. So I followed that, and we put discipline and habit in our business. And that's one thing we've been really good at, is just discipline, just doing it day in, day out. And it took a year or two to get to that point. We're at a point now where we're meeting 100 buyers a weekend, and we're getting repeat and referral. But now we're going in there and we list the list. So we go there and we're always generally getting 2 appraisals from a listing and 1 listing from a listing. So I'm a big believer. If you've always got 5 listings, you should always have 5. If you've got 10, you should always have 10. If you're really working the consumers right, they're inquiring on the property, if that makes sense. So we're getting a lot of business from existing stock.
Well, Frank, he makes a very valid point. Success marketing. Every time, think about this. Every time you get a listing, think about this. This is what you could tell the market. Coming soon, number 1. Open for inspection, number 2. Number 3, invite you to our auction. Number 4, just sold. Number 5, you have new neighbours. Number 6, would you like to know the new value of your home? You have 6 opportunities to brainwash people in that street every time you get a listing. So I tell agents, Frank, if you get a listing, success is not selling it. Success is being able to sell it plus get 3 other listings, because it gave you scale. It gave you a reason. It gave you the opportunity to magnify who you are and what you do. And I reckon Jonny does that well, because what percentage of your business is auction?
Be 90-95% of our business.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing about auction. You list a property up for auction, the world knows.
Yeah.
You put the property off market as a private treaty, you become New Zealand's secret agent, not their attraction agent.
We have a question here, Tom. Just got a question here from Catherine. Said, what would you recommend for newer agents in terms of prospecting during lockdown, since we can't knock/drop flyers? So, quite a relevant for the times we're in now. What would you say, Jonny?
Oh, look, I'm really old school in my prospecting. So picking up the phone.
Yeah.
I think incredible opportunity to be on the phones. I know when we went into lockdown, I was making more calls. because you're stuck at home, you're sick of the missus and the dog and whatnot. It's actually probably not. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And there was very few other people picking up the phone at that time. And I found there was a lot of uncertainty out there, and a lot of people were really happy to hear from a real estate agent.
Yes.
It's not always the case. So I think that would be what I'd be doing. I'll be picking up the phone and building data.
Yes. And one question on that would be, so I know you're the first call we did was, I've just sold this one, I've just listed this one. What does it look like if you don't yet have that property? What is that piece of value that you could give to that person if you're starting off very, very, very fresh?
Yeah, sorry. So from now, or when you're first starting?
So when you're first starting, so it's talking with Catherine there, it's like, what could Catherine be doing if, Catherine didn't have a listing at the moment? What's that first thing to start you off in terms of those calls to start building that momentum?
Yeah, you could always go something fairly similar. Like that was, by the way, when I was making those cold calls, I didn't sold or list anything. I didn't have any listings. I said, we've just sold this and we've just listed that. So I'd find people that have sold or listed in your area and just call them up. And if you've got your dialogue right and you know your stats and stuff, people actually don't question how long you've been in the business for.
Yes.
So that's what I'd be doing. I'd be doing that. And why I'd be doing that is because it adds value.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And if it was warm calls, I was just ringing people saying, how's your world look at the moment? Simple as that. Just opening up the conversation. Probably my conversations were a bit longer with people because we all needed more time. But yeah, that's what I'd be doing if I was Catherine.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I presume the person that wrote that question there, Frank, is in Auckland at the moment.
Yes.
But they're in Auckland, and, all I'll say to you is that real estate agents in Melbourne, who I consider to have had the hardest and the harshest and the longest lockdown, I'm not in that area, but I know plenty of my clients have. They continued throughout the whole process of doing what Jonny said. They were taking advantage of the fact that they had a captive audience. They were at home and they had time. And in fact, there have been real estate groups. Ray White, for instance, did do research that showed the average call length of concierge, the calls that they were having were 3 times as longer. Which basically says people had an appetite to have conversations because they weren't as busy. But I really wouldn't neglect. I had a client that ended up picking up 7 listings doing a Zoom webinar. They invited their whole database to a Zoom webinar, and they basically said, "Hey, we want to tell you what's happened in the market in the last 90 days, and we want to tell you what we think is going to happen in the market in the next 90 days." And they had on there, they had people from the council, they had someone from CoreLogic, RP Data, and the great thing is, everyone that attended the webinar had to opt in and put their data in, which basically became a prospecting tool. So there are things that you can be doing, and of course, social media. Jacinta Ardern doesn't care whether you post stuff on social media or whether you're using your phone. You can't spread COVID by either of those two means. So work with what you've got, where you're at right now.
Great.
Listen, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Keep going, Jonny. You've got 4 weeks to go before Christmas. And I'm curious, right at the moment, if you are going to list a property in the next 1 or 2 weeks, right? Will that property go on the market for before Christmas or go on the market for after Christmas?
Yeah, if we list it next week, we're on the market next week, which means we get a 3-week auction campaign, and 16th of December is our last auction day. So it'll be before, but they've only got a week, and I've made that very known to my chase list at the moment in my pipeline. And the other thing, they could wait till January or February, but right now there's a shortage of stock and there's 2 or 3 times the buyers in the marketplace. How does the market look in January, February? Don't know, but there's security right now that there's no stock and lots of buyers. Kiwi Bank here in New Zealand today just released all their pre-approvals, so things can change pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm just curious, your chase list, do you use a CRM system, or do you just have it separated on an Excel document or a piece of paper? What's your chase list look like? Yeah,
we've got an intranet system which is called H1 at Harcourts. So I've just got the mobile app, the H1 app, which is the Harcourts app, and it's real simple. I have chase list for people selling in the next 12 months, and I've got past and present clients. That's all I've got. So I'll be driving, I'll have a sheet with my appraisals from the year. I've got all my clients. I just put a little house emoji next to my clients. I can go into my contact list, press the house emoji, all my clients come up. And then I've got the chase list, which there's about 150 people in there at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I've got
So make it simple. Because us real estate, we're simple human beings, real estate agents, eh? So I just try and make it as simple as possible.
Love that.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you, Jonny. Frank, thanks for getting Jonny on. But I just think, that last half hour, if you're a guy or girl that's sort of there having this argument with their brain on what they should be doing to get them in their game, I've got to tell you, I think you've simplified the process. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The first 1 or 2 years is quite different to what it's going to be like later. Every winner was once a beginner. Every attraction agent was once a hustler. And I reckon that 80% of winning is just beginning, making the decision, I'm going to give it a crack. So who knows? Maybe 2022 is the year that, you've inspired someone to accept, hey, I've just got to make 2022 the year that I'm going to reach out and I'm going to get myself in the game. And then 23, 24, 25 will be the next phase of it, where I'll have more people reaching out and calling me, which you happen, and that's when real estate becomes good, when they call you more than you call them.
Absolutely. It makes it all worth it at that point in time, eh?
Gang, signing off. Kia ora, New Zealand.
Thank you. Thanks, Johnny. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
For joining. Enjoy the day.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.